Welcome to another edition of The Big Picture. And for those who don't know, The Big Picture is a feature in which I highlight the main takeaways from Texas Tech head football coach Matt Wells' game week press conference, his Monday press conference where he recaps the previous game and previews the upcoming game. Well, let me tell you, in terms of the game to recap, it was a stinker, for a lack of a better term. I mean, Texas Tech was just spanked 62-28 by Oklahoma. And really that score doesn't indicate how much of a blowout it was. Oklahoma called off the dogs pretty early. Tech got some, later scores that made it a little more, maybe a little more palatable than what it was. I mean, it was 48-7 at the half, and it was a total domination. After a really good start from Texas Tech, it was total domination by Oklahoma. And so that was the stage for Matt Wells for his game week presser, previewing the matchup 2:30 p.m. Central Time in Fort Worth against the TCU Horned Frogs, who are coming off a win over Baylor. So, there were a lot of questions about where's this team's mindset. I actually asked, this is one of my takeaways, I asked Coach Wells, and I know these coaches get tunnel vision in terms of, in a game week, but, they're not robots. They have TCU, Texas Tech has TCU coming up, and then Baylor at home. And then they have a open date, bye week, whatever you want to call, off week, whatever you want to call it. They don't play that next Saturday. Then they have two more games at Oklahoma State, which definitely sets up on paper as the toughest remaining game. And then you have Kansas at home, which, of course, River Nation expects Wells and Texas Tech to avenge that loss that was, at Kansas last year. So my question was, how important is this four-game stretch, these final four games in terms of the direction of the program? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the fan base being unhappy, wanting to blow this all up and start over again. So I want to know, even if he was able to show any kind of idea, give us any kind of idea of how important these four games are in terms of the direction of the program. And he did indicate, and this is what I was thinking was, for recruiting, they're always, he said like 3 times during his statement that TCU was who he's focused on, because he has to say that, and they should be. But at the same time, playing for the future of the program and for recruiting now and for the future, then yeah, these four games are really important. He said whether they were 4-2 or, now that they're 2-4, they would still be important. But look, bottom line is it's very important that they are 2-4. They can't just win one game, or definitely not 0 games. I don't know if this current program could survive that. It'd be there's certain contract things, fiscal things that are going on that makes it almost certain that Coach Wells will come back. But the fact that we're even questioning this means that this 4-game stretch is very important. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I think he should be gone or he should come back or he will or won't. I'm just saying, in terms of putting it in perspective of where the program is right now, they need a good showing in these final 4 games, and Wells certainly acknowledged that fact. A big part of having a good showing and winning enough games, or winning some games down the stretch here, is who are they going to have back? Because you get a lot of guys out against Oklahoma, which I'm not saying that that's why they got blown out. I'm just saying, matter of fact, you saw some really important guys go down. Sarajic after that first drive, we didn't see him again. Sarajic Thompson, running back. Western Wright went down late. He's one of your best offensive linemen. Tony Bradford, I saw him go down in pregame warmups, and he didn't play against Oklahoma. These are really important guys, core guys for the program. And I asked Coach Wells about, for an update on those 3 guys, and he said all of those guys are day-to-day. And so I followed up with, are you sure? Or not you sure, but I said, Western Wright and Tony Bradford both appeared like it could have been long-term injuries the way they went down and being big guys and, all that weight on those wheels. He said, no, they're not long-term. He said, he confirmed their injuries are not long-term. So I expect to see them at some point during these final 4 games. That's important. He also mentioned Krishan Merriweather and TJ Vasher, just that basically they were unavailable and they continue to be unavailable. We'll have to see moving forward. Dalton Rigdon, the H receiver, he was in the concussion protocol like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And there was talk about him, there was hopeful that he could return then, and he still hasn't been back. So that's still where Dalton Rigdon is that Coach Wells said he has some setbacks, and that they're still hopeful that he can play this week. So similar status as before. So we'll have to see about that. A couple other notable items with it being Election Day on Tuesday. Coach Wells said their schedule's different. They're going to practice more tonight, and they're off. It's NCAA mandated, but he said, it's good. They're encouraging, kids to vote and everything, and giving everyone the day off to enable to go do that. So then they'll be back at it Wednesday. Now it's a travel week for them, so their schedule is different than a home week anyway. So there's a lot to balance there, but that's something to note. I also asked Coach Wells. This to me was a minor detail, but a lot of fans were asking about it. I saw on social media and on Inside the Red Raiders on our message board. So I thought for them, I'd ask him. There is on more than one occasion on 3rd and long, Texas Tech ran draws that were unsuccessful. So I asked Coach Wells, was that a case where you were trying to get a more manageable 4th down where you go for it, or what? Like what was the idea behind running those draws that were unsuccessful on 3rd and long? He said. He didn't remember the exact context, which I didn't either on most of them. But one of them was like 4th and 45, so it was and they were getting backed up into their own territory. So it was to pad the punt, give them more space to punt. Basically from their own end zone, their own end of the field, which makes 4th and 45. I don't know if there's a play in the playbook for that, right? And then another one though was more of like I think it was around midfield. And it was, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 14. They ran a draw and it didn't work. He said that one was they were trying to hopefully make half the distance, and then you go for it on 4th down. And it didn't work, so you punt it. So that's understandable. It didn't work. Nothing worked. It was an ugly game all the way around. I do think this game against TCU is so important. You got Baylor next week at home, 2 in-state conference rivals. I really think the way we look at this season is going to depend largely on that, and that's assuming. And this is always dangerous to do. That's assuming Tech loses to Oklahoma State and beats Kansas. Just playing Vegas odds. Like I said, anything can happen. But I'm just saying, just assuming that, that makes these next 2 games so important. Against teams that are beatable. I mean, you've shown that you're very beatable as well. But I'm just saying, if Texas Tech is able to win one of these 2 games, you think, okay. If they win both of these games, you're like, all right, there's some hope for the future. Assuming that they win, against Kansas, basically, and then you have to see what happens against Oklahoma State. But in terms of first things first, TCU, Max Duggan he said basically the key to TCU's offense. Wells said that they have 3 very good running backs, some pretty good receivers coming in their own. On the other side of the ball, he really likes TCU's linebackers. They have an experienced secondary, and they have some athletic defensive linemen. So, yeah, it's a winnable game against TCU, but Vegas has the Horned Frogs as 10-point favorites, so it's going to be difficult in Fort Worth. Though I will say Fort Worth is a place that this program has won recently. I believe the last 2 times Tech and TCU have played in Fort Worth, Tech has won, and I think 3 of the 4 Tech has won in Fort Worth. So it's doable, but it's not a gimme for sure. There's no layups for Texas Tech with the way they played this year. But those were the main points out of Coach Wells' Monday press conference. With that, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.